Hi, we're the Youth Forum, and 2 weeks ago we had a meeting with James Thomas. We asked him about the cuts. Unfortunately, not all of our questions were answered, so that's what we would like to do now.
What cuts do you agree with and which cuts do you disagree with, personally?
Personally, I don't agree with any of them. I think it's really, really short-sighted of the government not to prioritise children and young people.
But some cuts have to happen, right?
Yeah.
So which ones do you think that they have cut that you agree with? Which ones that you've already cut do you agree with and disagree with?
Well, on a personal level, I don't agree with any of them. I mean, I'll probably take the example of the digital media unit. I think, given what we've got to do, it's the right decision to stop it, because I don't think it provides the targeted service to the most vulnerable people, most vulnerable young people. But that doesn't mean it doesn't do really valuable work and give young people opportunities which will then help them to develop in life and make their way later on. So,
yeah, these cuts going to stop young people from achieving their potential?
I think there's a real risk that it will for some young people. I think in particular there's a risk if you think about the overall way we're going at this. For some young people, just the standard service in schools and colleges is enough, and support from their family and their friends is enough. For other young people with really, really complicated needs, there'll still be a good service too, I think. I think the risk is sort of in the middle.
So are there any senior managers that are going to be taking cuts?
There are, there are. And actually, percentage-wise, managers and young people are taking a heavier hit than frontline workers.
Why are they cutting positions in schools when these people are making a difference for young people's lives?
On balance, we thought that the PAs based in schools were not as high a priority as some of the other PA roles. But it's another area that we're still working on and thinking if we're getting it right.
I don't think that the connections PAs in school are really, really that important. Personally, if I was to make a cut, I would probably cut them as well. Because Stowe was across the street from me, so that's connections too. You could just go to Stowe. I think people will be more comfortable going to actually youth clubs and youth workers that they see. And although teachers are not, they're not experts obviously and stuff, they're still experienced. They won't just give waffle on.
It's not that you don't have to take a teacher's advice, but a teacher's advice is just their experience. But if it comes from connections, it's what they're seeing every day.
And not all kids are confident enough to go to their local youth club if they don't usually go to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly agree. I mean, I think every school is going to have young people who do need a PA support. But the challenge for us is how do we, with fewer PAs, how do we make sure we make that still available?
Are there any positives of taking away the teenage pregnancy workers?
The only positive that I can think of is that where at the moment you have a specialist role, that work can become a bit separate to the rest of the work that goes on. And sometimes having a generic role, so in this case, rather than having a teenage pregnancy PA, having a generic PA, might be better linked into some of the other services that those teenagers who are pregnant might benefit from.
What are your views on the cuts on youth clubs and summer programmes, and how will this affect young people?
At the moment, we're saying we'll keep all the youth clubs open. We're having to do that with less money, which may mean fewer sessions, but at least the club will still be open.
If you're removing services, do you think it will have a knock-on effect for crime?
One of the major priorities that is going to remain is in preventing youth crime, and those current roles that we've got in young people services teams that work focused particularly on youth crime, we're keeping. So I think probably not. But
so everything that's being said now, that for example you want to keep or want to have more of, is that actually going to happen?
I don't think there's any realistic chance of us of your voice, of what people say, changing the overall position. So I don't think we're going to be told that, oh, all right, then we'll find the money. The council's not going to find the money from elsewhere. I don't think.
It doesn't matter.
But well, what I think is still up for grabs, and we're still thinking about, is with the money we've got, what's the best way of using it?
We all think it went really well, but unfortunately we didn't have our questions answered the way we wanted them to.
This is what the cuts mean to young people in reality.
Yeah, some cuts have to be taken into action, but some of the cuts they're doing right now, I totally disagree with them.
He's making cuts across the board, so like youth clubs, connections, pretty much. Even if you don't use a youth club, it's still going to affect you.
The connections in school, they're cutting them, so I think that's going to make it, that's going to have a big impact on young people as well.
They've taken away connections, and that's like the intervention, and now that they're making cuts to youth clubs, that was acting as the prevention.
If they don't have the youth club on them 2 days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, young people could join gangs, local gangs, get involved in drugs, and probably just be hanging around the streets, causing mayhem.
Basically, a lot of my friends that ain't got these type of things in their areas, like they are in the streets and they are doing this drugs. Basically, gonna be just more young people and ended up on the streets with knives and just really just got the bad way of life.
People start selling drugs, getting into a lot of mischief, having arguments with the public, and things like that will cause trouble, innit? Prison, nicked. What's the need for that? There's a club there, go enjoy yourself. After that, there's home, innit? School, club, home.
They can look at other ways of saving money rather than just cutting it.
To be honest, I don't know what he should do instead. I just think that maybe he should have, thought more about where he's making the cuts and how much he's making, and how much cuts he's making.
I don't think he has to make the cuts, but the cuts would probably be more useful to them. So there you go.
We would like to say thank you to James Thomas for attending the meeting, and thank you for listening. Now it's up to you.
We have 4 points on our plan of action.
To organise a meeting with decision makers about the cuts and also be included in future decision making.
Meet a commissioner for young people services so that we have a say about decisions that affect us.
Creating an awareness in Westminster schools about the effects of the cuts and getting feedback from young people.
Visit our Facebook page to add your comments and get your voice heard.